Arianna à la recherche, remaking the fourth opera in the Monteverdi trilogy. I'm immensely grateful to Professor Tim Carter for the valuable insights and helpful advice he contributed to this project. But his first comment to me played devil's advocate. Why reconstruct Arianna? Recalling the famous question, why climb Mount Everest, I'm tempted to answer for Arianna because it's not there. All that survives of the original music is the famous lamento. But Monteverdi regarded Arianna, composed in Mantua the year after Orfeo, as his greatest work for the stage. Certainly, the construction of almost the entire opera was a formidable challenge, but any halfway decent setting will present an intriguing opportunity for performers, audiences, critics, and musicologists. In academic study of the arts, the reverse side of the coin from analysis is creativity. Historically informed performance searches to understand and follow the composer's intentions. The reverse of that process is to become the composer oneself. Composing and performing a setting of Rinuccino's libretto was perhaps the ultimate practical investigation. I was inspired also by Emily Wilbon's work, looking beyond surviving documents to the rich variety of sounds that period audiences would have heard. Building on my 5-year text, rhythm, action programme at the Australian Centre for the History of Emotions, this realisation of Arianna, with historically informed staging, investigates not only lost sound, but the visual and emotional experience of that 1608 theatrical event. It's possible that publicising this project might flush out of hiding an original source for Monteverdi's setting. For performers and academics of the future, this would be a great outcome. Meanwhile, our investigatory effort would not be wasted. On the contrary, comparisons between the original and my reconstruction would reveal gaps in knowledge and understanding. So, Arianna à la recherche attempts to set the famous lament in its operatic context, with all due humility that the exercise of imitating Monteverdi can never be more than an exploration, an essay in music, a Baroque Versuch. I wasn't trying to reconstruct the lost manuscript. I wrote a score for music drama, for a performance in the theatre with singers, musicians and an audience. Keeping this practical outcome in mind encouraged me to see the libretto not only as singable text, but also as a theatrical script with hints of scenery, costumes, entrances and exits, of the emotional background and changing moods of the various characters, and of their Baroque gestures. Whilst there is a tendency nowadays to think of gesture as a bolt-on extra to historically informed musical performance, period sources make it clear that action was fundamental, built in from the outset. As he began work on a new project, Monteverdi searched the libretto for powerful emotions to express and for gestures implied by the words which could be imitated in music. His instructions for combattimento call for the actors' passi e gesti, the instrumentalists' varied sounds, and the declamation of the text to be delivered in such a way that the three dramatic modalities come together in a united representation. In such works, Monteverdi's aim was to create effetti, not only good effect in general, but also the special effects of non-musical noises, the sounds of battle, and the emotional effect of moving the passions, affetti. In this remake of Arianna, my aim was similarly to unite the essential concepts underlying Monteverdi's vision of what we now call opera. Of course, many modern ensembles have programmed other Baroque music around the lament, and there have been two recent attempts to set Rinuccini's libretto. In 1995, Alexander Goer composed a modernist score for an ensemble including extensive pitched percussion, saxophone, sampler, etc., but preserving some of Monteverdi's vocal lines. In spite of a talented cast of singers, critical reviews were unfavourable. In 2015, Claudio Cavina, director of the ensemble La Veneziana, presented a semi-staged performance of his assemblage of Monteverdi's music reset to Rinuccini's verses. Whatever success this private performance enjoyed was sadly eclipsed by Cavina's subsequent illness. My remake differs from both these previous projects in that the output is a hip production of Baroque opera that is new composed rather than a collage of contrafacta. Nevertheless, my writing was carefully modelled on Monteverdi's circa 1608 compositions. Monteverdi's letters reveal his negotiations with librettists and his bold changes to their poetical texts. I was unable to negotiate with Rinuccini, so most of the changes I experimented with in first drafts were removed in later versions. What remains is Monteverdi's madrigalian technique of mashing up text to create additional layers. I began with the set-piece Aria Passeggiata at the beginning of Act 5. By 1608, Such a florid air is rather old-fashioned, but it remained the way for music drama to indicate supernatural powers. After workshopping this first sketch at Opera Omnia, I made a few changes. Amore's strali, the burning rays of his arrows of love, might fly in whatever direction, but Seicento settings tend to use downward passaggi to depict them. The second draft was dedicated to Jordi Savall and Maria Bartels and performed at the celebration of their marriage. Later, I deleted a text refrain I'd introduced and added a sinfonia and ballo for the entrance of Bacco, eloquently described in Follino's eyewitness report. The dance chorus has the same metric structure as the final chorus of Peri's Euridice, 1600, another Rinuccini libretto. I also looked for Rinuccini's coded indications of aria or dance meters. Monteverdi's practice in Orfeo was to reduce Striggio's act-end choruses to a single strophe. I considered this option, since Rinuccini's Arianna is much longer than Orfeo, but I was persuaded that with so much recitative implied by Rinuccini's choice of poetic styles, the remake would need every possible moment of musical interest, whether aria or chorus. I may have gone slightly too far in creating brief moments of what we might today call arioso in the midst of long recitative scenes. But Rinuccini gives occasional hints. Consigliero hears the note, notes, i.e. musical aria, of Tesio's heart in a speech that one might otherwise have assumed to be recitative. Was this Monteverdi's natural way to handle dramatic scenes, which he preferred over the more artificial separation of aria and recitative in Ulisse and Poppaea? I deliberately preloaded my subconscious mind with lots of good examples over a 3-month period of thinking and composing. This is comparable to Monteverdi's pace of composing. I drew on my skills as a continuo player to think from the bass upwards, improvising onto paper, and on my theatrical experience to create melody from gestured declamation. In a number of works of this period, a particular word or short phrase is often set to precisely the same notes. Almost certainly, this is the musical representation of a conventional way of declaiming such words in the spoken theatre, which, as Peri and Il Corago tell us, is the model for Seicento recitative. Where such words or short phrases occur in Rinuccini's Arianna, I copied Monteverdi's standard recipes for them. There is, to my mind, an important distinction between modelling, my intention, and contrafactum, a valid approach, but not my choice. So when I took the walking bass from Monteverdi's Leitato Sum in the 1610 Vespers as a model for Bacco's show-stopping aria, I transformed it from sacred G minor to an exuberant G major, which ends up recalling Orfeo's triumphant return from hell, qual honor. Cued by Rinuccini's words, "They will make a golden garland of your hair," my violin writing cites Monteverdi's madrigal Chiome d'Oro, golden hair, which he himself borrowed to set the psalm Beatus Via. My string ritornello for Apollo's prologue, a tenor singing tenderly to the lyre of love, takes its rhythmic structure and rising phrases from the ritornello to the tenor solo Tempro la Cetra. I tune my lyre to sing the honour of Mars. But instead of the hard hexachord of G major harmonies and sharpened notes in Monteverdi's melody, my music for Apollo's Cetra adopts the soft hexachord with G minor harmonies and melodies with flats. It's important that any associations such models evoke are appropriate. Here, if the listener is reminded of another lyre being tuned, that's all to the good, especially if they also appreciate the significance of the shift from warlike major to pastoral, even melancholy minor. Apollo's first words, "I who on high," naturally require a high note on alto, matching the actor's upward extended right hand. Rinuccini provides the grateful composer with many such cues. In the madrigal books, Monteverdi responds to texts reminiscent of verses he previously set with music that recalls his earlier work. Arianna may well contain further references that escaped me, and we cannot know how many references Monteverdi would have noticed or chosen to link with music. But I deliberately took every opportunity I found to make use of pattern recognition. My score may therefore have more citations than Monteverdi's practice, but Rinuccini's libretto has more citations than other early operas. I declaimed aloud every single line of the libretto, searching for the best rhythms and pitch contours, accompanying my spoken recitation with historical gestures. Even though Rinuccini praises the eloquence of Bacco's gestured conversation with Arianna, I had not previously realized how significant the language of gesture was for composers in this repertoire, as well as for performers. Once the gestures are decided, the music has to correspond. I had to correct my initial errors and wrestle with challenging gesture puzzles. Lightning must strike downwards, of course, but an emergence out of the deep sea must move upwards and yet somehow allow a low hand position for the final word profondo. Out from that deep sea come nymphs and divas, whose music in my setting recalls the nymphs coming out to dance in the ballo Lasciati Monti from Orfeo. Although it is not specifically indicated in Rinuccini's libretto, instrumental music is clearly required to delineate act boundaries, to allow characters to enter or exit, or as ritornelli between strophes of arias and choruses. Here, bolder compositorial action was necessary since there was no text to inspire modelling techniques. But the affetto of the situation and the identity of the characters give clear guidance. Battaglia figures for Teseo and his soldiers, pastoral recorders for the nocturnal fisherman, sad modes for Arianna. None of the published versions of the Lamento matches descriptions of the 1608 production, in which La Florenda was accompanied by violins and viols, her outbursts interspersed with commenting choruses from the fishermen. Thus, even the surviving music requires considerable intervention. This was perhaps the most delicate work of all. As a performer, I've always opposed the addition of editorial string accompaniments to basso continuo, so it was a strange experience to write such additional accompaniments myself. I gave Arianna the full complement of 5 strings, leaving sections with fast-changing harmonies to be accompanied by continuo alone. The resulting contrasts bring out both Arianna's grandeur and her vulnerability, the essential elements of Baroque tragedy. The period principle of tactus structured contrast in the speed of declamation by notating changes of note values within a constant pulse. The distribution of speeches by the fishermen poses a question. What should be sung by the chorus? What should be spoken by an individual? It isn't for me to comment on the value of my own composition, but I can report with enthusiasm that Rinuccini's tragedia makes wonderful music theatre, full of emotional contrasts and dramatic twists. Teseo declares himself fedelissimo, utterly faithful till death do us part. The audience, remembering classical mythology and forewarned by Venus and Cupid, knows better. The opera is full of such dramatic irony. Repetitions and cross-references help the audience follow the plot, connecting prediction, event, and report. As Arianna's emotions reach their lowest ebb, Rinuccini creates a coup de théâtre, silencing the lamenting strings with noisy clamour. The oral and dramatic contrast must have been shocking. Wendy Heller's article in Early Music, written simultaneously with but independent from this project, evokes the visual spectacle of Bacchus's triumphant arrival. The 1608 audience would have had the double shock, first hearing Bacchus's arrival, the dozy fishermen think it's Teseo of course, and then, after the second herald's lengthy build-up, seeing his all-singing, all-dancing triumph. In many choruses, it became apparent that Rinuccini had structured parallel shifts of affetto in one strophe after another, so that musical gestures optimized for the first strophe could serve for similar emotional changes in subsequent strophes. But the abrupt shift from pastoral or piscatorial escapism to anger at "ma tu superbo ingrato" demanded a similarly abrupt break in the smooth sequence of strophic variations. And the complex imagery of "si l'orride palude," evoking the power of love even in hell, required through composition. The third and fourth strophes of this chorus refer to the myth of Alcestis, who sacrificed herself to save her husband and was rescued from hell by Hercules, leading to Rinuccini's enigmatic line, "Cambio d'amato sposo," exchange of beloved husband. Here is an explanation for the suitability of Arianna, a tragedy, at the celebrations of a dynastic marriage. Katerina Antonienko's research for this project revealed that there was indeed an exchange of bridegrooms for Margaret of Savoy. Now we can understand how Teseo's counsellor could be allowed to insult Arianna on stage in the presence of the real-life bride, Princess Margherita. This attempt at character assassination misfires. For the Mantuan audience, it is Teseo's reputation that is permanently stained. And behind the conventional debate over love and duty, the dynastic fortunes of Geneva and Mantua are in play. From the very first scene, divine figures inform us that Arianna's ultimate destiny is already settled. The Mantuan audience needed this reassurance that Teseo's, i.e. Geneva's, suit was doomed to failure, that the Bacchic Francesco's triumph was always preordained. Our Arianna project continues to progress with an international CD recording. At Opera Omnia, in addition to ongoing Baroque productions, we continue to create new Baroque operas. Amici, ecco, spettacolo giocondo.